If we don't know, does no pasa nada.
How do you know? Oh, it says the time the whole time?
Well, no, it just says like in the last 2 minutes it tells you like how much time remaining. So we have 50 seconds remaining on this live, and I'm gonna have to restart it again in 50 seconds or whatever. So just know that's gonna happen.
So anyways, on Tupac's song, I think it's called Blasphemy on his Machiavelli album, he has a line where he says, what if maybe this is not verbatim, but he says, maybe we're living in hell right now and everybody who's kissing ass to get to heaven is just wasting their time. I'm like, damn, dude, that's true. Like, all of y'all kissing ass to get to heaven. Even, what do you think about that? Like, there's this, in my theology class, we were talking about the theory of, like, even if you don't believe in God, act like you believe in God, so that if there is a God, you still go to heaven. I didn't get to save it. Motherfuckers. Anyways, act like there's a God, so that just in case there's a God, you're gonna get to heaven. And then they're like, well, don't you think that's not gonna get you into heaven because you're not pure in your intentions of following or, loving God. It's only for the sole purpose, like the egotistical purpose of getting to heaven. This guy's not even listening to what I'm saying.
I'm trying to hop back on this. Anyways, I feel like that's something that they talk about a lot in, like...
Dude, I had premarital sex. I'm done.
I feel like that's something they talk about a lot, though, God. like in religious studies classes, though. Like, that whole idea of... I feel like that's one that they always bring up, though. Don't you feel
But
like?
I think it's important. I think
Which
it's
one?
important to talk about, like...
Or talk about what, exactly?
Like, the theory of that, like,
Might as well act like it is, so like that just in case?
I think the conversation is important, not the theory. I think it's important to talk about, like, well, what does, if it's not the acts of getting into heaven, then what is it? Like, is it the intent?
I hate that I have to bring this guy up, right? But I'm gonna bring up Richard Dawkins.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Kanye.
No.
You would never hate to bring him up.
No, I would never hate to bring that man up. That's my father right there. No, I'm gonna have to bring up Richard Dawkins. He attacks this idea, and he says things like, if you feel that way, over the course of history, there's hundreds and thousands of gods. So you may upset one god living one way, but you could upset the other 99,
That's not the God we're talking about.
Which one are we talking about?
We're talking about God. We're not talking about gods. We're talking about God.
But that God. One God has a specific way that he wants you to live, right? Supposedly. What I'm saying is that there's other ones who have a way that they want you to live.
Yeah, but his argument is invalid because he's talking about something categorically different. We're not talking about Thor. We're not talking about Zeus. We're not talking about all those like other guys.
No, yeah, sure.
Those are deities. Those are demigods. We're talking about God.
What about like, for instance, like the God in the Quran, which we would talk about.
Is the same God.
Well, some people would say different. Like maybe Christians would say, no, that's not the same God.
I think they could say it's not the same God, but we theologians are there's one God. So if you're talking about God and I'm talking about God, if we have the same conceptual understanding of what God is, we're talking about God.
But what if we don't? But what if we don't?
Well, then we're talking about different gods, and the argument is invalid. You're talking about a different God. We're not talking about the same God.
I know. That's why I'm saying this God wants me to live a different life. Though I'm not talking about the same God you want to talk about. I'm talking about a different God. He wants me to live a different life. But
there's only one God. By definition, there's only one God.
By definition of what?
God.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, which one? Like, you can't.
There's not which one God. There's only one God. If you're talking about
who? According to who? Because there's people in this. There's other people in this world. There's other people in this world who have different ideas of what God is that aren't necessarily the same as your idea of what God is. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but they're talking about a different idea of God. Like,
sure.
When we're arguing, okay, so
and
like,
I don't
say
think
we're
that
arguing
particular part is invalid. That part isn't invalid. That they have a different idea of God isn't
But then
invalid.
I'm saying, like, you're arguing about something I'm not even talking about. I'm not talking about that.
Sure.
Like, you could talk about those gods,
agree.
but that's not God. That's not God.
Okay.
That's not God. That's not the God I'm talking about.
For sure. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm talking about a different God.
I'm dead. Someone is me in this argument. Dude, we could literally do this all day.
We do this all day, dude.
Even Jehovah represents other gods. But
That's
the other
saying.
gods, lowercase g, those are demigods. Those are gods that are created by something. God wasn't created by something.
That's one God that said that. Which God is who talking about? I'm talking about literally any God you want to talk about.
You guys...
I could talk about Zeus. I'll just talk about Zeus for this case.
Who made Zeus?
He created himself.
No,
Who made God?
No.
Who made God?
No.
Who made the God you're talking about?
God isn't made.
Okay, Zeus wasn't made.
Yes, he is. He's a man.
No,
he fucks other gods and creates things. Like, in order to fuck something, you have to be something. And to be something contingent, he fights other gods, and gods kill each other and shit. And in order to be killed, you have to be created. You have to be living. You have to be contingent. And to be contingent, you have to be
Okay, I'm talking about Zion.
Who's
he never
that?
fucked anyone.
Who's that?
He's this God. He talked to me today.
But who is that?
I can't tell you. He's just the infinite God, the one and true God. He told me that he was today.
Okay, so, like, where is he? What
He's
is he
everywhere.
the God of? Okay,
Everything.
Then we're talking about the same God then. My
Sure.
God is just named Allah,
but
and
my
your
God,
God is
but
named
my
Zion.
God told me like I can kill people and it's chill.
Okay, good. That's.
But what did your God say that or no?
I don't talk to God because God doesn't have a voice to talk to me.
Mine, like figured it out and how to do it. So I think my God's better.
I think.
Do you get what I'm saying though? Like as far as like
No.
it being possible for somebody to say like, well,
It's
there's a
possible
different
for
God.
anyone to say anything, but what I'm talking about is we're not talking about the same thing.
I know that's what I'm trying to get at. That I know that we're not talking about the same thing.
Then they would be talking about. I'd be like, okay, then there's no point to having this conversation because I'm talking about something you can't comprehend what I'm talking about.
No, I can. I just don't agree with it. Is what I'm saying.
Okay? I take that back when he said, "My God said I can kill."
But that was like my exaggeration of like just trying to like get to a point of saying like, well, I can say.
Let's disregard Sal right now. Yes, dude. Yes.
Okay, but that I feel like that's the very like
He gets mad. Don't be like. Don't.
I
be
feel
so
I'm just saying like I just feel like that's like that's the general population would say yeah, like for sure. You know what I'm saying?
What?
With what you're saying is like, okay, yeah, you know how like I went to my extreme of saying like, oh my God told me I can kill or whatever. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like I went extreme just to pose a difference.
Then we're not talking about the same God.
Exactly my point that there's a possibility for different gods and for different people to be like
ideas of God. But when we're talking about God, God doesn't tell that God is good. God is...
And we don't know what that means, though.
Well, would you agree that killing people is good or bad? Or is bad?
It depends. Are we killing Hitler or are we killing, are we killing Jesus?
How do you know Hitler was bad, though?
How do we know Hitler was bad? That's good. That is good. That's a good question to ask. Is it good, but that's what I'm saying, like...
Not trying to offend anybody. It's just hypothetical questions. Well, what if there's, people, on here that'd be offended if I don't want to offend someone. If they... Oh, now you don't care.
No, I don't. I feel like I haven't been caring. Is what I'm saying. Like as far as
no, earlier you cared when we were talking about Corona. You're like, I don't want to be shamed.
No, I said I have shame. I said I have shame. I can be shamed. Not that I care about being shamed because I'll be shamed and I'm like sad.
Bitch, ask again if Hitler was bad.
You see what I'm saying? Like you see what I'm saying? That now, like, okay, we can put this all in a straight line now. Whether Hitler was bad and my God told me it was okay to kill. Like, these are all hypotheticals. These are all just questioning the notion. Because, for instance, I was reading or I was listening to this thing. I can't remember exactly what it was. Who was I listening to, dude? That they were talking about when they were growing up. I think it was Alex Jones. I think it was Alex Jones I was talking about when he was growing up. His grandparents were telling him that when they were alive, that the media wasn't telling them that Hitler was a bad person, that he was chill and that he was cool or whatever. Mm-hmm. If Hitler won, we would say different things. Okay, interesting. You see what I'm saying? We don't even know if half of us would be alive.
There's some people who compare Donald Trump to Hitler. That's wild to me. Is that wild to you?
Okay, hold on. We're getting off track here.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
God was all for killing for a while. True, exactly.
Was he, or were people using him as an excuse to kill?
Okay, but that depends. Are we talking about that God, or are we talking about the way you were talking about God earlier? Because God was all good, you said. And then we're talking about scripture, like all those things. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is a messy conversation. All I wanted to do was pose the idea that it was possible for someone to speculate of a different God, or different ideas of what is good, or different ideas for what that one God could be like. That's mainly what my purpose was. Like, the whole time I was trying to create space for somebody to speculate that this same God that you're talking about, however it is you want to talk about him, had different ideas, or had different ideas than the one that you felt like that same one did. Because, for instance, if we're talking about this one thing, like, let's just say it's my finger, right? From your side, you would say my finger is really thin, but from my side, I'd say it's not so thin, or whatever. Or from my side,
it's
like...
no. I coughed.
What?
I think we can agree on believing in different gods.
Okay.
No one's saying you can't believe in a different God. I'm not saying you have to believe in the God I'm talking about. I'm just saying we're talking about different gods. When we're saying the word God, we're talking about two categorically different things, because the God I'm talking about...
What are those two categorically different things? Explain.
See, I get frustrated having conversations like this with you because, like...
Because I ask you to explain?
No, not because you ask me to explain, because I'm going to explain, and then you're going to pose, like, questions that... Or, like, not even questions, but, like, you're going to pose an opinion or, like, arguments that you don't even hold. Like, you don't even hold the position.
This is why Socrates got murdered, dude. This is because of the same energy. Same energy.
No, dude.
Same energy of why Socrates got murdered, bro.
What is a god? Okay, a god... is different categorically than the God, or than the God.
See, I feel like making that kind of a statement is very, very hard to, like, back up. You see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's hard to, like, defend.
Because God is existence itself. God is reality. God is all of the virtues we were saying earlier. That's what God is. That's God.
Some people would say that, for sure.
That's what I'm saying, yes.
But it's understandable to be like, that same thing that you're talking about, somebody else has a different reason for it. Would you agree or disagree?
A different reason? What do you mean?
For all those virtues that you just talked about, or not?
I'm not saying that I'm 100% right and there's no way that someone else could be right instead. I'm just saying, say categorically again, I'm just saying that you asked me to explain, so I explained.
Explained what?
I don't want to talk about this anymore. I want to talk about, because I said it's crazy how Donald Trump gets compared to Hitler, and then Christian said, I don't know how wild that is, though. How is that not wild? Is that wild to you? Mm-hmm. To me, that's wild. Like, how are we comparing? Because
Hitler legit genocidally killed millions of people. I don't know if the Donald has the same... I don't know if to me, like, if, for instance, I was making a list of the most evil people in the world that I knew of, Hitler would be at the top of it, and I don't know if Donald Trump would make that list. Like, I get that he does shit that people don't like and that stuff like that, but I don't know if I'd put him, like, on the list of most evil people. Like, he's not, like, intrinsically evil to me.
I think that, like, when, like, I can see why people think he's unlikable. I can see that. Like, I can get why people think he's, like, unlikable or, annoying or stupid or whatever they want to say he is. But, like, to say he's evil, I think is just a kind of a stretch,
Because evil's, like... Yeah. Evil's the whole thing. Like, to be evil...
Shout Jada Boo out and show some love. I love you. I miss you so much.
I don't know. I don't know if I would say he's, like, evil. I don't know. But where were we at as far as the God thing? Why did that conversation start? I said I wanted to bring up.
He still wants to go.
Yeah,
I
do.
Want to have this conversation
but
now.
I feel like it's because I feel like we went like astray.
No, it's because I don't want to have this conversation. Because you roast me, and then it's because I know you're like what you hold to believe, and you're arguing something you don't even believe, and it frustrates me. I'm like, why are you like going so hard for a belief you don't even hold? It like trips me up.
Because I was trying, like I said, I was trying to make case for this part or for this like for the what was I trying to make case for? I was trying to make case for the whole idea of like having different people feeling like God is telling them different things or having different beliefs because they think, you know, God wants them to act that way. Mm-hmm. Do you believe?
What do you believe then, homeboy? What do you believe then?
As far as what, though? As far as
see
what?
How he dances? He dances big time, dude. You like
no, it's because I don't want to
talking to this guy. It's a sport.
No, it's because it's not fair to be like, well, what do you believe? Do you want me to?
He's like nothing at all.
I'm just gonna. What is that? The Frank Ocean song. He's like, I believe. You know, I don't believe there's a. Or he says I don't believe there's a flag on the moon or the nation's flags on the moon or whatever. Like, believe what? As far as what you believe in God's. I feel like I do hold I hold a belief for the fact for if we're in a simulation and if we're not. I hold two. I have two different theories, and I'm cultivating two different theories. One for if we're in a simulation and one for if we're not in a simulation.
As far as what you believe in God's.
Yeah, so if we're in a simulation, if we're not, what if we're not in a simulation? If we're not in a simulation, then
Wait, I have a question, sorry.
Go.
Okay, this is like an epiphany question. If there's a God, there has to be a simulation. No?
No. I don't think so.
No, you don't think
I don't think it's necessary. I think it's possible.
Because if there's a God, then we're created by him, right?
Sure.
So, wouldn't that be a simulation? I get scared to ask questions. You roast me.
I don't roast, dude. I don't roast.
I'm like in the back of the class, like.
I don't roast.
He roasts.
I don't. I love epiphanies. If we're not in a simulation, I think whatever created this world that we are in, however it got started, like however it happened, whether it was a God or whether it was something, whether it was like what people consider to be like evolution or whatever. What if the simulation is relevant to God? See, that's why I'm cultivating both theories. Like, I feel like if I cultivate both theories, they will both lead me to the same thing. Do you get what I'm saying? So if the simulation is relevant to God, if I follow both these rabbit holes down, I will get to the same end result. Or I'll get to the end result that kind of like shows me like, yeah, these are all kind of connected. You feel me? But if not, I feel like, are y'all Big Bang hoes? No, I wouldn't say Big Bang. Like, I feel like, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like Big Bang's hella propagandy.
Same.
You know what I'm saying?
Same. Because even, okay, so like Big Bang, let's talk about the Big Bang Theory. Because I asked you the other day, I was like, what is the Big Bang Theory? Because honestly, I was never taught in school what the Big Bang. The only thing I was taught in school was that it happened, like it was some kind of like.
They taught you Big Bang in school?
Like briefly mentioned it, that like there was some kind of event in the universe that caused some kind of explosion type thing that created like a domino effect of life, right?
There's that one.
But
like,
something had to exist to explode, right? Like something had to exist to bang into each other. So what was the cause of those things to exist? Like the Big Bang Theory is very like,
I think
there's no beginning to the Big Bang Theory.
The Big Bang Theory doesn't explain eternal existence, or not eternal existence. It doesn't explain like outside of personal existence. I think Big Bang Theory it tries to explain like human existence, how humans spawned.
Well, it says that that's how the universes came out of the Big Bang. Like it created like space. But still, what banged?
I believe in
what banged?
But I feel it more significant than what people accept. More significant. Infinite. Space plus time is infinite.
I think time is a construct.
But time is how we measure things.
Space.
Is how we...
Gravity and space together is how we measure time.
Yeah, okay. Space and time being infinite, yeah. Well, because technically, as far as we know it, like, space is infinite.
That chufa? I told you. Dude, I'm kind of tripping out. It's chupacabra now.
It's not a chupacabra. It's just a thing, bro.
I swear.
The real Maui joined yours and not mine. Dude, my friends are fake, dude.
Time is just how we perceive reality. There's more to it than that. I agree. I think time is how we measure our experience of gravity and space. There's no explanation for before what happened. It's when the universe decided to experience consciousness.
Okay, we're having this conversation the other day about the first time experiencing consciousness, and it goes back, like, I guess, to, like, the first time our mind was blown. Like, the first time we were, like, shocked. Like, because you can't be shocked or you can't be, like, mind blown if you're not conscious. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you get what I'm saying? You said, like, I felt like you were going to go somewhere.
Yeah, because you didn't say that last... Like, you didn't explain it like that last time.
Time is subjective to this consciousness.
I agree.
You do? I feel like
yes.
Time... Okay, but time, I feel like... Okay,
time is relative.
In what respect?
To everybody, I think.
But what about...
Because we all wait, like, okay...
What about, like, a day? What about a day? Like, not time, like, hours. I'm talking about a day. Can we measure a day? Can we measure a year off the day?
We're measuring...
Can we measure...
Yes, we're measuring...
How long it takes...
When we're talking about a day and a year, we're talking about Earth's mass with gravity. When we're talking about how we experience the time of day, we're talking about our mass with Earth's gravity. So time is relative to what mass we're referring... Like, I feel like mass and gravity, like, takes into account how you're going to experience time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I feel that. Okay, I get how that makes sense. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree that is for sure, but I get how that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Sid, we haven't talked since we were kids, but we're both experiencing a more experienced reality. What do you guys think about that?
A more experienced reality? Stoned or not? No, dude. We're Gucci.
Just a little wine.
Whining
and... Sid, we haven't talked... Yeah, that's crazy, dude. We haven't talked since, like, MySpace days. Like, real shit, we have not spoken since MySpace days.
We only understand measure because of how we understand.
I want to answer Christian's question, but I'm not sure what you mean by it. We're experiencing a more experienced reality. What do you think you mean? What do you mean? What does that mean?
Like we're living a more examined life. I feel like that's what he's trying to get to. Like we're examining the life that we live in much more than
okay, so this kind of reminded me of the conversation we were talking about. If people are like kind of predisposed to some kind of like other consciousness or like thinking, and I feel like we were both kind of raised, if that makes sense, in a very similar like both of your parents are teachers, both of my parents are teachers. We were both hella nerds. Go.
I have a question. Do you think, you know how in The Matrix...
Laugh my ass off MySpace, but I mean we have a better viewpoint about what we're experiencing.
Teacher.
Go.
I was thinking like in The Matrix, right?
Uh-huh.
When he takes the red pill. Let's just say he took the blue pill. Do you think that he would be presented again later with the red pill and blue pill again? For instance, people who may have let themselves stay asleep to some aspects, do you think that they're presented with another point in their existence or in their experience where they're posed again with the red pill, blue pill, and they must take it?
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
I feel like that could be a movie too. Is that in part 2 or 3 or anything?
No, because Matrix Reloaded. Dude.
is that a thing?
No, because we've talked about that before. How like you through our life, like we have different experiences that kind of trigger like more awakening, and you thought you were woke, quote unquote woke before. Or you thought you were having like some kind of realization before, and then something happens, and you're like, dude, I was stupid. Like. Now I know some shit.
Okay,
and then some more shit happens.
So that's another thing. So you think that you take one red pill and then there's more red pills to take?
Once you take the first one...
So then this pill thing ain't shit then to me. Then,
no,
like,
I think after the first one, you're fucked.
Really? What if like the first one is like aliens and then after that like... What if like after that like somebody convinces you to like not believe in aliens anymore? What kind of pill was that? Like a purple pill?
What?
I'm just saying, I don't know. Like, I'm just thinking, I don't know.
You don't even
That's
know
part
what
3,
you're
bro.
asking.
That is part 3. Okay, tight. So he takes the blue pill.
The universe is experiencing itself in different realities. Ooh. I wish this person was here when we were talking about chakras.
Dude.
When we were talking about Earth being a chakra inside of an entity of something else, and the entity being a chakra inside of something else.
Yes, after the first pill, you're fucked. No, it isn't. It's not part 3. It's
yes,
not part
after
3?
the first pill, you're fucked because once you wake up, you cannot go back to sleep.
But the thing
is wonder. You have experienced wonder, and like what you were saying, the first time you experience like mind blownness, you just want to keep going. It's like in our nature. You can't just shut it off after that.
I think there is people who just shut it off, like or who do things, or who purposely do things to like shut that off for them, like. Whether it's like drugs or alcohol or some other form of like distractants to keep them like away from thinking about that thing that they were thinking about, that wonder that they had that like was overtaking them for that that year or that month or that one day or whatever. They just start using other things to like distract them from it. Like that's blue pilling themselves in a way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Ignorance is bliss. You feel that way? Like, I don't know. Like,
Earth is just a part of the bigger picture. It's in one entity, just like we are, just in a grander scale. Yeah, I agree. I think Earth is a living organism within itself.
You feel like ignorance is bliss? Do you think you can truly be happy if you know nothing? What is there to be happy about? You know nothing. Like, there's nothing that, what is there to be happy about? I'm just curious. Like, I'm trying to think. Like, what is that? Is that happiness? How can you be happy if you don't even know what it is?
Ignorance, ignorance is just
to know what happiness is.
Nothing. Ignorance is just not knowing the thing we're talking about.
What are we
I think that's what he means. Ignorance is ignorance of the thing we're talking about.
Part 3 is Neo fighting for the human race against the virus that is Agent Smith.
He said virus.
Earth is definitely a living organism, and we are only part of that. Mm-hmm. Ignorance is bliss only whenever knowledge is in power. But, okay, so that's the thing. Like, in this realm, it can only be one of those things. Knowledge is power or ignorance is bliss, right? It can't be both. It cannot be happiness.
Can it not be happiness?
What, knowing nothing? Oh, happiness is knowing nothing.
But ignorance isn't knowing nothing. I think in this case, when you say ignorance is bliss, we're talking about ignorance to what you know when you take the red pill. Taking the blue pill, it gives you bliss because you don't know when you take the red pill.
Yeah, but from an examined point of view, looking at the blue pillar or the person that took the blue pill, can you examine that and configure it as bliss? That's kind of Inception,
for some,
sort of.
Yeah, sort of, because you've taken the red pill.
Some would say.
Yeah, you have. So you've taken the red pill, right? So the person taking the blue pill, that's what the whole Matrix is about. It's like, you're taking the blue pill, you're a sheep, but the sheep's happy following the herd. Like, the sheep thinks, like, what they're doing is right. They think that's happiness. But to you, you're like, you're stupid. Mm. This got away from everyone. Thank you. Can we get back on track?
This got away from everyone. What does that even mean? Let's throw the yellow pill down. I haven't seen all of the Matrixes. I assume Renee has. What's the yellow pill, bro?
Knowledge is elusive. We don't actually know if our knowledge is actually knowledge. 2 plus 2 is 4. Period.
I just made it up. Oh, okay. 2 plus 2 is 4.
Don't.
No. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do it. But I don't know. You know, I don't know if knowledge is elusive. Like, okay. I don't know.
Yellow pill is a world where Young Thug is our... That's my world right now, so apparently I took
Yellow
it.
pill, pero it is.
Pero is it?
Oh.
Yellow pill is a world where Young Thug is our messiah. Young Thug is our messiah, whatever pill we take. And that's on period. Knowledge is subjective also. I think by definition, knowledge is knowing something for a fact, right?
Okay, so... No, okay, so...
He's an empirical philosopher and I'm an analytical philosopher and we do not get along.
So Plato would say knowledge is a justified true belief. Right? Yeah. Knowledge is a justified true belief. Murky waters. Knowledge is subjective also.
That's a fact then. Thank you, Joseph. Yes.
What?
Plato
Okay, but see, but that's how. Okay, people have posed problems with this, right? And I'm all about analytics.
Thank you. I'm annoying about it though. I think I'm super annoying about being...
About what?
About being analytical about things.
I feel like I used to be very analytical about things, but it doesn't make sense to me that you're analytical and then also have, like, empirical beliefs when it comes to, like, other things.
Well, I'm analytical when we're debating things because I'm like, what are we exactly talking about? Can we define what we're talking about before we go any further? Like, I need to know, can we agree on the definition of what we're talking about? That's when I'm analytical. That's when I'm like... We're talking about God? Okay, let's agree on the God we're talking about. Not debate two different things. That's, like, very, to me, unproductive.
For sure, I get you, but when we start getting into, like, the nature of the thing that we're debating or whatever, the nature of it becomes very empirical. What did you say?
Yeah, once you get past the analytical view, but the whole analytics of it is a debate within itself of like what we're actually talking about.
Sure.
Jeanette said, I came from an educated point of view.
Oh my God. I don't know. But we're not, I don't know if we're like are we against each other? We're not against each other.
Are you against me?
No. No, I don't know. I don't know how I feel, man. I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, as much as it is, I don't know. This is what the philosophers did, dude. You know what I mean? They just hung around and talked shit to each other about what they thought. You know what I'm saying? Like, until
one got murked. Until one got murked, bro.
Dude, and then they all stopped. They all chilled for a while. Right?
They did. They're like, we gotta chill. We gotta make a secret society. We gotta hide this shit. We can't let people in on these dialogues where they can write about it. And why... Oh, yes, law are basically saying similar things.
I feel that way too. That's the thing. That I feel like in a sense we're both saying very similar things. Just I guess how we're getting there is kind of different, or the exact stipulations of what exactly we're saying are different, and it makes us feel like what we're like our end point is different, but it's not. I don't know. Or maybe.
And also, sometimes you fake what you're arguing about.
For sure. But not like, fake what I'm arguing about. But what I do, I guess, is I don't like to tell her exactly what well, she knows what I think a lot of times. But I try to act like this is what like, if I hold a belief, I know that there's people who hold a different belief.
He likes to role play.
Yeah, I like to...
This got awkward.
I like to role play. Right? So I argue the opposite. Wow. Yeah, okay, I don't know. So I know what other people believe, and I pose as them. I act like if I'm them, because I get into conversations with those people and they start saying these things, and sometimes I honestly get at a loss. So I'm like, all right, so I'm curious to see what you would say to those people. And I really try, and as we're going through those arguments, I find other arguments for those people in a way.
Yeah.
So I just role played it.
I know,
kinda
it's annoying.
Yeah.
It's annoying, but it's fun to watch him do it with other people, because then I'm on the side, like, I know he doesn't believe anything he's saying, but they think he believes it. I'm just like, dude, you're a con artist.
Be careful.
What kind of role play?
Wow. Damn. I don't know.
You gotta leave things for mystery sometimes.
True.
Drink more wine.
Damn, dude. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Christian, are you in Catula? Oh, no. Dude, I forget you live in LA now. That's so crazy. He fucks with people. He really does.
A sly fox. Yeah, bro. I don't know. It's just fun. It's fun, and I feel like, honestly, it leads me to more knowledge or more wisdom, or it breaks down barriers for me. I feel like it's important that if you believe something, like if you truly believe something, I think you should find like the opposing view and hold that for a while too. Like you should really hold the opposing view of whatever your belief is for at least an entire day.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It like makes you better whenever you encountered people that have that view and they have different arguments, but you've already explored those arguments, so then you have a way to like combat them, or like, you know, argue them because you've thought that way for a while, or you've tried holding that position.
And also it just like challenges me in a way to like think harder about what position I allegedly truly believe, because sometimes like I'll believe something for a long time and then I'll get into a conversation with somebody who also believes the same thing that I believed, but for the sake of the conversation I'll believe something else just to like have that discourse with them, right? Like we were just talking about. And then at the end of that discourse, I'm like, oh, fuck, I can't believe I believed what that person thought. Like, when I really challenged their beliefs from a different perspective, I realized they really didn't know what the fuck they were talking about, which makes me know that I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about.
But
you know
sometimes I want to talk about things like, sometimes I want to have debates that you're holding your true belief, and it's not fake you, it's real you.
No, but I do that sometimes, too. You don't think I do that? Well,
I feel like you've gotten into a habit of doing the other thing a lot more often than like how you used to be. You used to like really like, well, I guess because you're super confident in like your arguments now, so like
that. And then also we used to always have very different beliefs. Now we have much more similar beliefs, which is kind of like why I do that.
That is true.
We used to have much more different beliefs.
Oh yeah.
So it's much more fun now to be able to like, you know, playfully argue or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
And role play.
Yes, I do argue with people for the sake of arguing people, Renee. It's all about understanding. I want to see what you think. What is it?
You have fantastic points, but there's always somewhere to go.
For sure, which is why like I like to explore the different routes. Like I don't like to, like, if somebody, like, imagine if you're like, yeah, dude, we're in a simulation, and someone else goes, hell yeah, we are. It's just like, that's boring. I'm like, so yeah, why? I'm like, oh, why? Why do you think we're in a simulation?
That's why when we were watching Westworld, whenever the little kid was like, you're one of the fake ones, aren't you? And she just like, and like walked away. I was like, bitch, if that was in real life, I'd be like, what? What are you talking about? What do you mean fake? Like, I don't know. I tripped out that she didn't.
But the thing is that that's part of their code. Like, that's part of their genetic makeup to, like, shy away from that. Or, like, to just...
But how do you code that? How do you code something like that?
But how do you code... well, explain to me how you code, like, an Instagram Live. You can't, but it's there, and we're doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because we don't know how to code it doesn't mean somebody doesn't. Somebody
True.
doesn't. You know what I'm saying?
I'm the same way. I actually don't think I'm in a simulation.
That,
wow,
you know?
That's very...
But, like, okay, like, for the most part, I don't think I'm in a simulation either. But why? How do you code anything? It's a system of telling somebody something else what to do.
It's math. It's basically math. It's formulas.
Social distancing.
Never.
Dude, are you social distancing? Are you social distancing, Fred? Or like, I mean, maybe you are, but what do you think,
What
Fred?
is social distancing? Oh, no, we can't do this. We said this was a different episode. We can't go with it. We can't. How do you...
No, yeah, that's... Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like, that's...
How do you code anything? Well, I think coding is like a... I don't know.
It's definitely math. It's it's formulas, and it's Because I learned, like, I had a friend in LA that coded crazy.
Math is just patterns. How much does
I have no idea. Can you retype that, please?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Coding comes through behavioral conditioning. Yeah, are you talking about human coding? I'm talking about like have you ever seen Westworld, Fred?
Like computer coding.
Yeah, like computer coding, like software, like actual software. Well, I don't know. I feel like he's gonna integrate that into like
genetic,
actual
because
human.
some people do. There is theories out there that our genetic code is a coding.
Yeah.
Coding comes through behavioral conditioning. How does code?
Are we just waiting?
We're waiting for them to finish their question.
Wow.
I don't know. I feel like even if this sounds stupid, but even if we aren't in a simulation, we're in a simulation. If we're not in a simulation that was created by something else, we're in a simulation that we created ourselves.
For sure.
So either way, we're in a simulation.
Yeah, I feel like, okay, hold on. Our minds are computers. Okay. For sure. So do you think that we modeled computers after minds, or the simulation as the mind and the beliefs we hold?
But I meant, that is true. I think that's true, but I think that what creates a simulation. I'm talking about the simulation being that we work for money, and that, you know, we spend money on things, and there's a hierarchical, you know, system within our society. Our society is a simulation, you know, things like that. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, like...
And that's why, like, people like Donald Trump
or the
like,
simulation
trigger people, because he breaks the simulation that we're in. Our like, simulation, our president's not supposed to act like that, or on TV, or tweet, or have a Russian wife, or fuck porn stars. But since he does all of those things... Money has a belief system.
I'm thinking about, like, the simulation as far as, like, before we were born, like, a simulation... Like, we're born into a simulation. The simulation has been going on since, since we can... date history or whatever, like some sort of simulation, some sort of system that was created to make us act or believe certain things has always kind of existed. You know what I'm saying? So what you're saying, simulation of control. Yeah.
How much does code define anything? My code is different from anyone else's. How does my code affect anyone else? Because you interact with other people, and I think like we have individual coding, but when we interact, the coding, would you say, like, integrates?
I would say it. I wouldn't say like necessarily it integrates. It depends, like how I think, like, for instance, we're all kind of we all have a code, right? But we also have some just how like computers have like softwares that protect certain things, like protect, like, you know, have like privacy protection or whatever, like as far as like antivirus or whatever. Like depending on how strong our antivirus for our coding is, our mental coding is, that's how susceptible or not susceptible we are to the external and who we interact with. Like for instance, like if you have a very strong like antivirus for your coding or whatever, for your personal genetic coding or your personal mental coding, you can be in a room with all these people who think something different than you, and you won't subside to their beliefs.
Facts.
And you'll stay with yours.
Facts.
But if you have a weak one, you'll be easier to be like, okay, yeah, I believe whatever you guys believe. And in a way, that's the kind of world that we're in, where it's all this stuff that we're being, like presented with all these things, and we have to come up with our beliefs in some way or another. But depending on how you cultivate this malware that you have is what you'll end up with your belief as, you know what I'm saying? And that's how it affects, like you can go and talk to somebody and try to convince them of something, but if their malware is strong, even if their malware protects some stupid belief that they have or some great belief that they have, you won't affect it. but let's say that they have like a really stupid belief and very weak malware, and you go in there and you convince them of this thing, they can maybe have like a better belief or a different belief now because of their weak malware. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of where I'm going with this, or that's kind of where I'm at as far as what I think.
To put it in simpler terms, I think like it's like what people say when they're like, mindset is everything. Like, your mindset affects your reality. Like,
but it's not your beliefs that have to be strong. It's what
that's what I'm saying. Like, wouldn't you say?
Sorry, I was replying to his. So what happens when your beliefs are strong? Well, when your beliefs are strong, that means that the foundation of your beliefs are strong, or you have like a strong, foundation. I don't know. How would you explain that?
Does this coding interact with people that aren't on the same levels as us? So what happens when your beliefs are stronger?
Yeah, you can manipulate them.
Yeah.
Then you can if your coding is stronger, then you can manipulate them. But there's some people who have such strong coding, like for instance, people who study things like marketing, they start developing how to manipulate our coding or basic coding. That's why they're able to sell shit at like high levels and stuff. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, Kanye talked about how Instagram triggers like this movement triggers dopamine in a female's brain. That's why they're addicted to Instagram, like the swiping, and Tinder, the swiping, and the developers of those apps figure that out. And they use that to like market things, and that's why everything's like virtual now, and like the swiping, all the apps that are coming out is like swiping.
Yeah, I definitely think that manipulation is real, though. I mean, I get how maybe as far as you've been on this conversation, I take you to be somebody who maybe has like a pretty strong malware for your beliefs. You know what I'm saying? But. So it may be easy for you to be like, nah, people aren't easily that susceptible. But there's people, bro, like, for instance, if I call my mom right now and tell her, Mom, dude, like, people are saying this about, COVID or whatever, like, she'd probably be tripping out like, oh, fuck, she'd probably be believing me and shit. You know what I'm saying? Or, like, like, there is certain people who you could get to be like, tell them all this stuff, and they'll be like, oh, fuck, dude, you're right. You know what I'm saying? But there's other people who are like, nah, bro, like, nah, like, everything you just said, like, it's whatever to me. Like, that's cool that you think that, but I still hold these other beliefs. Or maybe I took one part of your little, your spiel and added it to my source of information, and it maybe changed it in one way, but...
For sure, but what should we do? I want to answer that question because I feel like there's no real answer to that, because I think... I change it. What we should do is work on, I think, figuring out, or, like, individually, what we should work on is, like, identifying who has similar coding to ourselves, and it makes our going through this reality a lot smoother, because I've learned that, like, when certain people have a coding that's so I don't know how you were describing it earlier, of like super strong malware, or like just this different coding that I'm not like compatible with, I guess. It's kind of like I recognize that, and I kind of just don't waste my time or energy in trying to argue or talk or whatever.
Okay, hold on. This quarantine is forcing us out of the simulation. See, I feel like maybe, but I feel like the quarantine is not only forcing us out of the simulation, but forcing us into a different simulation. I feel like there's like a transition.
So connect with those with similar coding. I would say yes. I think that was what I was getting at, is like, because what we were talking about the other day was like, you can't really convince anyone to change their mind. It kind of happens naturally. Well, that's what I was saying. And I think that like when you're meant to connect with someone, it's going to happen. You're not going to force someone to connect with you. When their coding kind of changes and your coding changes and you happen to meet up at the same like compatible coding, is when you'll connect. You can't force a connection. You can't force a plug into an outlet that doesn't fit. You know what I mean? Like it has to be compatible.
I mean, I feel like that depends how good you are, as far as like going back to like this whole thing of learning how to manipulate people. Like, for instance, if I want to connect with somebody who maybe doesn't have the same thing, I can, depending how good you are as far as like a manipulator or a a marketer or whatever, like, you can shapeshift into, okay, let me plug into this thing and convince it of whatever the hell I want. Which is what I think a lot of people have the power to do, and a lot of people do that. You know what I'm saying?
I don't... Is that connecting with someone, or is that manipulating?
For sure.
Someone?
No, that's connecting with someone and then manipulating once you're connected. Like,
Okay, that's my next question. Can you... Hello? Can you level down? You can level down to people. That sounds so... I don't mean that in, like, a pretentious way. But you can level down to people. You can level down to people, but can you level up to someone?
I feel like, yeah, definitely. Like, for instance, if you're in a room, like, I feel like, for instance, I don't know, I remember one time going to, like, one of my professor's office hours and seeing, like, these other two professors that I was like, dude, these guys are some fucking crazy guys. You know, they're like, they quote unquote know some shit that I don't know or whatever, right? Like, I like was like, damn, like, in a way of thinking of these levels, I would say they were up on me. Now, instead of me trying to, like, be at their level, all I did was, like, be neutral and let them carry me up to their level in a way. You know what I'm saying? So depending, like, going back to, like, being what kind of manipulator you are or whatever, or what kind of shapeshifter you can be, like, what kind of, like, chameleon you can be, you can kind of, like, sit there and let them talk or let them be there or let them, like, kind of carry you up.
Yes.
Or maybe they all shifted down to me and helped me get up. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but at that moment, you wouldn't say you're all the way up to their potential highest level, because there's in certain aspects.
For sure.
Because, like, I'm not gonna, I can feel like or like your example, you can feel like you're leveling up, of course. You are leveling up.
Yeah.
But they're also leveling down to level you up. And, like, are you going to get to the point where you're at their exact level because they know, certain things that you've never even heard of?
In a way, I feel like intention matters. For instance, like, if they were leveling down to teach me something, sometimes, like, don't you feel like when you teach someone something, you kind of learn it better yourself? When you kind of understand why they didn't understand it at first and you're able to explain it to them, like, you kind of learn it better. In a way, they're leveling down to, like, help me, and that is both leveling us both up. Like, they're now leveling up even more because they came down to help me, and I'm leveling up more because I'm allowing them to come down and help me. You know what I'm saying? And we can do the same thing whenever we interact with these other people, whether they're in our same level or not. You know what I'm saying?
Christian said, "You guys are awesome. Love you both." Dude, love you too. You're fucking awesome for being on this live the whole week.
I think you can. I know, dude. You've been here the whole time, bro. Hell yeah.
Leveling down is just a way of understanding better.
I feel that, though. That's what I feel like. For instance, like, dude, I used to be so intimidated by, like, mathematics, and I recently was, like, tutoring this group of kids in math, and I know it's, like, almost simple math, like, it was like 4th grade math, and it was, like, simple, but at the same time, like, the fact that they didn't get it helped me really understand how much like, so much more about it. You know what I'm saying? And, like, me having to go down to, like, understand it for them and explain it to them, and then having them understand it helped me both level up and them level up. Like, I did feel like a much better understanding of it at the end of it, even though I had to, like, go down to explain it to them. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know.
Okay, so it's almost 2:00. But what the whole point of me saying the time is that we want to go live tomorrow, but obviously, like, we need to start earlier because it's 2:00 and no one...
Everybody's awake early right now, though. They're quarantine awake. But no, I feel you. We're probably going to go live, like, earlier, like around 7 or 8 or something. Or
what
7.
Time do we start today?
If it's 2:00, we started at least at 12 because we haven't gotten the second hour to tell us that it's done.
True. I've been there. It's a very true, important... It's very true, important to understand your understanding. It's midnight for me. Dude, see? California time, bro. I was telling him, I was like, when we go live, all my people...
This is perfect time, dude.
All my Cali people are... It's 2 hours ahead in Cali, so I was like... We have to do, like, a good time for both, because if we go live at 8, that's... Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter now, because everybody's at home.
Yeah. We'll see.
Being a quarantined.
We'll see. Well, we're gonna go live again tomorrow for sure, though. We're gonna try to do this like at least once a day. So an hour, maybe 2. Like today we did 2 or almost 2, right?
Yeah, we were saying an hour, but once we get started,
it's hard to get us to stop.
It's hard to get us to stop.
It's because we have these conversations all the time, or we have conversations like this all the time, and then we finish them, and then we realize, damn, dude, we didn't record anything, or we didn't do anything about this. So.
And it's cool to get like input, like other people, because we just have us two, and we kind of we know what we are gonna say in a sense, or like we know what we're like thinking in a sense. So it's cool to get other people involved.
Dude, Renee, let's do it one time. I think that'd be cool if we get Renee live, and then it's all 3 of us at the same time, and everybody would be able to hear still in a way.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But I would honestly just dig. Okay, Renee, never mind in that case. Nah, but we'll go live again tomorrow. So hit us up, guys. Join us. We're out though.
Okay, I'm down. Love you guys.
Good night. No, you said it.